Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head up to Gothenburg, or Göteborg as you would say in Swedish, and we're going to do my third visit to Electric Nurse, and I'm quite looking forward to this one. This is one that I wanted to try for quite a long time, mainly because I like orange flavoured IPAs. So for this one we're going to have a go at their Marmalade IPA, and it comes in at 7.3%, so it should be really nice, this one. Definitely looking forward to trying this beer. The other ones I've had from these guys I think are their regular pale ale, and I also had the winter brown when it came out last year, and that was really quite good as well. These guys tend to have a quite juicy feel when it comes to their beers, so when this one, especially when this one's juicy and it's got oranges in it, I'm definitely looking forward to this. This one was rated 81 overall on Rate Beer, so it should be a pretty nice one for us to try. But anyway, as is usual with my beer reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you do want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews I've done from Electric Nurse before. No doubt I'll add more in the near future. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do subscribe to the channel. The whole channel has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city or state, whatever you're interested in. There are playlists of the beers from different countries, as well as whiskey reviews, sake reviews and all these things, so do check those out. And as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review on the channel. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Electric Nurse then. So Electric Nurse call themselves a phantom brewery, and basically it's the same idea as the gypsy breweries that you have over in Denmark, but these guys, as I said, are based in the Gothenburg or Göteborg region here in Sweden. They were founded back in 2012 by Peter Robertson and Ida Engström, and Peter is actually an electrical engineer while Ida is a nurse, and hence why they chose the name Electric Nurse. I do wonder actually if Peter is maybe Scottish with a name like Robertson, but I'm not quite sure about that. But both of these guys really love the American hoppy beers because of the sort of high hop bitterness and the juicy characters that these things have. And as I say, the beers that these guys produce do tend to have this nice juiciness to them. But they released their first beers back in 2013, and most recently they've really been expanding their range to produce a few different styles. So just to list those other beers you can get from these guys, there's the Pale Ale, the Peros, which is an IPA. You've got this guy here, the Marmalade IPA, the Double IPA, and you also have an Imperial Stout as well. And then in their seasonal range they have the Christmas Ale and the Winter Brown Ale. It's the Winter Brown Ale and the Pale Ale that I've reviewed for you before. So as I said, you can check out the links to those videos in the description below. But these guys, as I say, if you're into a nice kind of fruity, juicy IPA, then these can be some nice beers to have. I need to try the Imperial Stout and see how they are when it comes to brewing the darker styles of ale, but the brown ale, the Christmas brown ale, was one that I really quite liked. It had a nice balance between the malts and some of the kind of darker fruits, the nice hoppy fruits, so I'm definitely looking forward to this one, and as I say, I hope you guys enjoy the review. So yeah, that's enough about the brewery just now. We'll get on to the tasting of this one here. Tells you a little bit on the side here, just tells you what kind of malts and things it has. So the specs that I have for this beer is this one's a 7.3% IPA. It's meant to be an East Coast IPA. It's hop with Centennial, which is American, Pacifica, which is a New Zealand hop, the Simcoe and Summit, both again which are American hops, and it has a malt base of Pale Ale, Crystal and Wheat malts. And just an interesting point about Summit, because this isn't a hop that you're going to come across too often. Summit is an American hop that was bred in 2003. It was bred from a female Lexus hop and then a male that had Zeus and Nugget and other history, other ones in its background, and it's supposed to give you a nice kind of herbal and floral aromaticity, and it's meant to give you some kind of oranges and grapefruit as well. But Pacifica, I guess, is going to be the main hop in this one, because that one gives you this really nice sort of marmalade-y orange character, so I guess that is what is going to be the main one in this. I'm surprised they didn't use a bit of Amarillo though. Amarillo always gives you a really nice orange flavour as well. But we'll see how it turns out. It should be really quite nice. So as you can see, a nice elephant just chilling there with a beer on the front of this one. It tells you a little bit on the side there about basically what I've told you during the review there about the history of the brewery and a bit about the beer itself. So yeah, it should be really nice. Plain bottle cap on this one. This beer is actually brewed at Slottskällens Brewery up in Uppsala, which is another big university town here in Sweden. Most of their beers, I think, they brew at places like Dugges and things in Gothenburg, but this one's brewed a little bit further away. So yeah, as you can see, nice smoky opening on this beer, and we'll get it out and into the glass. And I tell you something, you can smell that sort of New Zealand hop character coming out of this one. You can smell those nice juicy oranges there. It does smell really nice. So as you can see, this beer is poured a really quite bright orangey amber colour, this one. It looks lovely. You can see if I put my fingers behind it, there is a degree of transparency. There's actually quite a lot of little sediment particles floating around in this one, but it looks really, really nice. Big, bright orangey colour. There's a half finger of a frothy white head there. I think it's fair to say it is a kind of perfect white head on this one. There's some big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass and quite a few little ones just rushing up towards the bottom of that head there. But I tell you something, you really, really do get oranges from this one. You can really pick that out with this beer. But with the oranges, there's a lot of tropical fruit. You can tell just from the aroma. This beer, I'm pretty sure that the Pacifica they've used in this one is the main hop. That, you know, the New Zealand hops have this distinctive aroma about them, and really you can pick that up in this beer. It reminds me of some of the IPAs and stuff that I had when I was down there in New Zealand, and you can definitely pick that up. So you've got a nice, yeah, you've got a nice orangey character to this one, as you would expect, of course, from the Pacifica. But I tell you something, I can pick up some of the sort of summit coming out of this one. There is a bit of that kind of almost herbal floral aromaticity character coming out of this one. You can pick up a wee bit of passion fruit, I think, which will be the Simcoe. The Simcoe always gives you a nice sort of passion fruit aroma. The Centennial, you've got the nice kind of, there's a good floral aromaticity just kind of underpinning this beer, and that'll be the Centennial and the Summit coming out. There's maybe kind of a little bit of resiny character in there as well, but not too much. Really, the floral aromaticity on this one's coming across is a little bit kind of herbal, and I guess that's where the Summit is coming in. But you can get a little bit of grapefruit in this, but mainly it's those nice kind of New Zealand oranges that are coming out of this beer. A bit of passion fruit, some grapefruit in there as well. You can get a little bit of the sort of lighter grassiness too. But underneath, of course, you do get a good whiff of things from the malt as well. You can pick up a bit of breadiness. There's a bit of sort of caramel, sort of biscuity thing going on as well. You know, exactly kind of what you'd expect, but there is a wee bit, as my nose is kind of adjusting to this, I'm starting to pick up a little bit of earthiness coming out of this beer too. But there's quite a bit going on in the aroma. It's got quite a nice kind of rich aroma to it, this one. So take a little bit of time and enjoy that for yourself. So we'll give this guy a try now. So this one is the Marmalade IPA from Electric Nurse up in Gothenburg. This one, of course, brewed at Slottsjällens Brewery up in Uppsala. Skål! That's quite interesting. This one's quite different from the other ones I've had from these guys. You know, the other ones, as I mentioned to you, really are quite, they always come across as kind of quite juicy IPAs. This one is interesting in the sense that it's more, the hops are just coming across differently in this one. It's a big kind of, for me, I'm getting a bit of a kind of earthy, sort of herbal thing going on in this one. Yeah, this is interesting because for me it comes across as if it has some of the sort of English IPA characteristics. It's got a bit of that earthiness and that kind of herbal floral aromaticity that you can sometimes get, but on top of that, on the other side of the coin, you know, you have the fruits. You've got the American fruits and the New Zealand fruits coming out of this one. So this is a kind of quite unusual and interesting blend. And it certainly, you know, it certainly has the strength of flavour that you would expect from a New Zealand or an American IPA. I always find the English IPAs, they don't have the same kind of strength and flavour that the New Zealand and the American ones do. But this one certainly, it's interesting just because you're getting a good strong flavour from the English side of the hops, but also from the American and New Zealand side as well. And I'm saying that, and there's not even English hops in this beer. It's American and Kiwi hops. But yeah, there's a nice juicy orange character to this one. You can get that just behind the front curve of your tongue. The middle of the palate is kind of as you would expect, you know. There's a kind of bready malt base in there. You can feel the kind of the heavier aspects of the bread there from the crystal malts in this one. And there's wheat malt in this as well, of course. So you can detect that in the middle of the palate. I'm getting a little bit of a sort of grainy thing going on in there. Maybe a slightly toasted grain character, which isn't what I was expecting actually. But there's a bit of a kind of almost biscuity and caramel sweetness in there as well. So it's quite nice how that's turned out actually. And I would say, yeah, as your mouth kind of progresses and adjusts to the flavour of this beer, you get more of a sweet caramel out of this one, which is, it's really quite nice actually. But as I say, the most interesting part for me about this beer is the hops. It's in the back corners of the palate, there's a little bit of earthiness, which I would guess is coming from the summit. As you come further forward, I think that's when you're moving more into the centennial kind of territory, if you like, but you can feel this kind of herbal character just underpinning that, a nice floral aromaticity, but then around the front curve of the tongue there's a little bit of grassiness in there too. And then if you just go behind that front curve of the palate, this is where you get the little oily bubble where some of these fruity aspects come out. And this is another thing that's interesting about this beer, is you can feel a little bit of the grapefruit just underpinning this one, and it makes the flavour of the beer a little bit darker, and that kind of goes, it kind of pushes its way into the sort of earthiness and herbal character that you're getting out of this beer as well. So that makes the beer just feel a little bit darker, and that's probably what's making me say that it has a little bit of a kind of English IPA character about it. But of course you don't get much in the way of grapefruit flavour when it comes to an English IPA, so again, this is kind of why it's really interesting, and it's quite different from the other IPAs I've had recently. But yeah, if you go to that little oily bubble behind the front of your tongue, that's where a lot of the fruits are coming out. As I said, you can feel the grapefruit just underpinning this beer. There's some orange in there as well. You can get a nice little bit of a kind of, I would say, a passion fruit character coming out of this beer. You can really pick that up in this one as well. But that of course is the Simcoe, and you can get a little bit of, you know, maybe when a beer starts to progress into the aftertaste, you can pick up a little bit of a sort of mango, not quite peaches or anything, but there's a little bit of a mango flavour coming out of this one as well. You can get some of these lighter sort of fruits coming out of this beer too, but you know, it's supposed to be a Marmalade IPA, and it's quite interesting because the oranges are kind of there in the aftertaste, but they don't kind of come out until a wee bit later, I think. So in that regard, it is kind of quite interesting. But really, in terms of recommending this beer, I'd recommend it to those of you who do quite like your English IPAs, but you also like the American fruits. This one, it's probably fair to say it's quite a quirky beer, because it has these, as I say, it has these aspects of the English IPA, but then it's got some of the American and New Zealand things on top of it as well. So I would say give it a go and see what you think of it for yourself, because it is quite interesting. Just the herbal and the herbal aspects of the beer in this one, and the earthiness and things, they blend together quite well with the other Kiwi and American aspects of the beer. So in that regard, it's quite interesting. In terms of the mouthfeel of this one, I'd say this one is mid-bodied. It's at the top end of mid-bodied. It's got a good oily mouthfeel, and it does have quite a thickness to it for an IPA actually. You know, this one, in terms of the mouthfeel, I'd say it feels a bit more like a double IPA than a single IPA. But you've got the malt character in this one is quite smooth. There's a little bit of sweetness comes from it. The hoppy side is interesting too. Some of it's quite smooth, but there is a kind of lingering bitterness there. The flavours that linger in this beer are the slight earthiness and herbal character from the hops, and you've got some of that grapefruity character and some of the oranges just lingering there too. But it is quite a kind of lingering, it's almost got a resinous character about it as well, which is quite interesting. But the hops do kind of linger in this one. The malt base is quite smooth, and there's a good bit of a fruity, juicy character to it as well. But as I say, this one is very quirky, and it's got a whole host of things going on. So if you want something like that, then I guess this is a good place for you to go. If you want something that's a bit more straight up, you're maybe better going for the paleo that these guys do. But you know, for me, I've quite enjoyed reviewing this beer because it is kind of a different change of pace. What I would say about this is it actually reminds me a little bit of some of the Japanese beers that I've had. This one is all about how the flavours blend together rather than being kind of overly aggressive with the hops or something like that. You know, it really is more about how the flavours blend together. So if that's kind of what you like for your IPAs, then this is one that I think you're going to enjoy. So yeah, it's been really cool to review another beer from Electric Nurse. This one was the Marmalade IPA, 7.3%. from the Gypsy Brewery based up in Gothenburg. As I say, I'd recommend this to you if you want something that's a little bit more quirky and things. But I've really enjoyed reviewing this one. As always, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Do let me know your own thoughts on this beer and the brewery in the comment section below. I'm sure we'll return to Electric Nurse in the fairly near future. But until the next time, Slangy just now, do check out all my usual social media, and if you want to see more beer reviews, do subscribe to the channel. Make sure you support your local craft breweries, and if you want to try some nice kind of juicy beers here in Sweden, Electric Nurse is quite an interesting place to go. go. Until the next time, slange just now, and I'll catch you very soon. The Marmalade IPA from Electric Nurse up in Gothenburg. Cheers.